Yeah, I was
Ghost
like,
Rider.
yeah, I was like, I don't think this is gonna work out.
Literally. Oh
So,
my gosh, that's so funny.
yeah. All right, so I guess we can start. Good evening, guys. This is Amy
Hey, hey.
Lane. And
Alright.
do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello. You can call me Lil Red.
Little Red is a
Howdy.
very good friend of mine. She's a very, very based and deep and very sensitive, cool chick that I really aspire to be like. So I hope you
Oh,
guys enjoy uh, our show. Um, so I've known Red since what, last year or almost 2 years ago, I think.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, almost years.
yeah, I met you when I was still living in Thailand. Uh, th-
Hmm.
through the Rabbit Hole Discord, defunct now.
Whatever we're calling it these days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, like it was so big in the heyday, like, uh, and it was a lot of people that were fans of Sam Tripoli,
And
Tinfoil Hat,
Cora.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
We still got a good group of core people
Oh
hanging
yeah,
out
for sure, for sure.
to keep us sane.
Yeah, and like our Discord was nuked what, 4 times now.
And counting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Knock on wood.
yeah. So yeah, so
Or
oh, sorry, what were you gonna say?
no, no, nothing. I was just saying we're all pretty connected. Like even if we get shut down, it's not that big of a deal now.
Yeah, yeah, it happens in a lot of communities. Because I know at least 5 or 6 people that have had their accounts deleted.
Crazy.
But
Must be doing something right.
right, yeah. So Lil Red, do you want to kind of talk a little bit about yourself, and kind of introduce your story? You can kind of start wherever you would like, I guess.
Oh gosh. Well, um, I am 26 years old, and about, I'd say 5, 6 years ago, I kind of really woke up to what was going on with what we're dealing with now. And growing up, I had family members involved with Freemasonry and Shriners and Elk Lodge, all of that kind of stuff. And I didn't really put any of it together like at that young age because I pretty much grew up completely surrounded by that and didn't really think anything of it. I always kind of felt disconnected to my family, but I never could really pin why until, having my own reality check and getting therapy and doing the work on myself and like kind of piecing my patterns together and kind of coming up to questions of, well, how did I get here? And I mean, this isn't normal. So just listening to all these podcasts, it really opened my mind to a lot and deep stuff. But I don't really know where to start. Amy, help me out.
Okay, okay. Well, we can start kind of slow this time, I think. So the reason that I was compelled to do this was because I listened to Red's podcast with the New York Patriot, who I really, really like his work, especially with the Occult Reject podcast. I really liked that
Mhm.
one. because they were both former magicians. And so they have a lot of insight about the Kabbalah and magic, high magic, and secret societies. And so when I was in Thailand, I was streaming their streams about the Shriners, the Jesters, the Order of Quetzalcoatl, which we'll talk about that later in your story. Blew my mind when I heard you talk about that. But anyway, and then the Loyal Order of the Moose, and all of those kind of subdivisions within Freemasonry and kind of their functions. So the Shriners were, obviously known for the hospitals with the children's hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
And you have insight about that. So we'll talk about that. So you had this amazing podcast with him, and I just thought, oh, so many more people need to know Red's story because it's so relevant to everything we discuss as conspiracy minded people. And it's just like you said, just piecing your life together is quite the task, because your story is just so profound and so, so different from most people's stories, I would just say. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it like doesn't feel like it. Like saying it out loud, I don't know, living it is different than I guess explaining it, because I've always kind of just sucked it up and was like, all right, I'll just take whatever because somebody else has it worse. But like, it's really dumb to just compare trauma with other people because
Yeah.
it's all different. Like, everyone experiences it differently, handles it differently, heals from it differently. And it's really like a journey of yourself. And I really feel like God lets things happen to you so you can grow into where you're supposed to be. And
Mm.
for the longest time, I felt dirty or like undeserving of God's love. And like, so I went down a dark path. And it took a long time for me to like really accept his love for like what it was. And like, I didn't have to really earn it, I just had to understand it. So
Yeah, I
I think,
remember. Sorry, I just wanted to say before I forget that I
yeah,
remember you saying in the podcast that you finally realized that God gives people, the people that can handle. I don't know the way you framed it. I'm really been
no,
doing a little bit of
yeah, like,
kratom and I can't really speak right now, but like you the people that have the struggles are the people that can handle it, to take on the burden for the people that can't, kind of thing. Can you explain that a little bit?
yeah, like basically, like, if, let's say, this, like, what happened to me happened to somebody else, that person might not have been able to handle it. They would have killed themselves or just kept going down the dark path and like without, saving themselves. And that could have been me, but I just felt like there's a reason why I'm here. I don't know it yet, but I'm working towards it. So like, God wouldn't put me through this if he didn't know I could handle it. Like, if I couldn't handle it, he wouldn't do it. Like, like, I guess I had diarrhea of the mouth.
No, I know. I couldn't articulate it at all, and it's not that hard to articulate, but I am kind of
No.
tired, but yeah, and oh my god, and I had a point, but I totally forgot it now. Dang it.
Because like, you might not relate to my story, but like, you could relate to a part of it. you know?
Oh
And I
yeah.
think everyone can. So like
Yeah.
hearing people talk about their stories and like even though they're traumatic, like a part of us like naturally takes comfort in it because it makes us feel less alone. And like if anything in the conspiracy world, we've all felt isolated from our families, our friends, our coworkers, like a lot of people. So it's it's a very like spirituality and conspiracy are very like if you do it right, you you do end up with spirituality.
Oh, definitely. And like New York Patriots told you, if someone out there is listening to this and has a similar experience to you but couldn't put it together themselves, like you help that person piece that together. So that's also another way to look at it as well. Um, so you're like
Yeah,
you're
it's
really
very true.
brave. You're really brave for being so open and vulnerable about these experiences because they are traumatic. And I'll probably make this X tag because there is X tag kind of material in it. And it's kind of just what, like you were saying, the conspiracy realm where we study it, but we have to apply the principles of healing in this demonic world because
Yeah, because it is a spiritual war we're in.
yeah. And they really they don't want you to heal, and they don't want you to figure out what's actually wrong with you. They want you chasing everything else to try to fix the hole that's inside of you, and you can't really fix it until you go deep into your wounds. And that's what I'm realizing too. Because for me it was like my parents didn't divorce and my dad wasn't an alcoholic, and so I would always compare myself to other people in many ways. And so I'd compare myself to my friends who had really, really bad parents. And I'd be like, well, my parents really aren't that bad. Like, and so I always kind of didn't realize like the patterns and the dynamics that my parents had that I took on
Mhm.
and that we all do, because when we're young we can't we are like narcissists and we think the entire world revolves around us, and so we internalize whatever happens around us.
Yeah,
So
it's very true.
yeah, I feel like I don't know what this, like you were saying earlier before we started, that this time you felt like you wanted to come back out into the light. The astrology's been kind of crazy lately. A lot of planets are in retrograde, and so there's just been a lot of like inner work people have
Oh,
been
I've
doing.
been crazy the
Oh
past.
yeah. Oh god. Oh, me too, yo.
Oh, I've been feeling kind of murdery.
Oh, really?
I don't know. Like I'm just a little feisty lately. Like, I don't
I feel
know.
you there, yo. I feel you there.
Like I just don't have time for stupid right now.
Right?
Oh,
I know, and it's
anyway.
all encompassing and all it never ends, it seems like.
Yeah, like I just gonna disappear to my own island at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, no, I did too as well. I've taken a huge break. That's why I like cut my data plan this month, cuz I was just like I have to or I'm going to freak some people
Yeah,
out.
gotta take care of yourself
But
first.
I did resurface last week, and people were really kind to me, and they told me that they valued me, so that made me feel a lot better about life. I just
You are valued.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's
We
just
love you, Amy.
oh, I love you too, Red. It's just we have to go through things to, like you're saying, to heal ourselves and to figure out what happened in the first place. So, and then we have
Yeah, like if you find yourself hesitant about something, like if it really scares you, then you really have to think about it because that's probably what's holding you back from what you're really wanting.
Yep. Yeah. And it's like there's this hedgehog conundrum that I heard about, and it's the hedgehog dilemma where like you want to get close to people because loneliness sucks, but then when you get close to people, invariably you get hurt, and so then you retreat back into loneliness, and that's okay for a while, but then you get sick of that, so then you go back to people, and it's just this never-ending cycle of like retreat and going back.
Yeah.
And I think we all do it, and I mean, I don't know, maybe there's this like super extroverts that never 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 are alone, and those people I feel really sorry for, because like if you can't be alone at all, it's like, I don't know, I think that's more of a sign of mental illness than being alone all the time.
Like, sometimes I worry about being alone too much. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Like, especially like intimacy, I really struggle with. Like, not that I'm like I don't know how to flirt or be with a guy. It's just like I don't know how to do that in like the correct way on how you're kind of
Oh,
supposed to,
yeah, no,
you know?
I'm exactly the same way. Like I don't, like I'm so
Like I'm
conventionally unconventional when it comes to everything, that I'm just a mix of everything and nothing. It's the weirdest thing. Like I don't know. It's hard to explain, but yeah, I struggle with intimacy and self-esteem and a lot of stuff. So, and
yeah.
it's hard. I mean, it's hard being awake. It's hard, I feel like people I have hit it off with, a lot of them are normies. And so that's its own thing.
Yeah, my problem is I like read people too much and
Yeah.
like I'm like, yeah, this isn't gonna work. I'm like, and it sucks because like that's kind of isolating too. And I'm like, am I picky or am I just reading between the lines too quickly? I don't know.
I
I
don't know.
struggle with that.
I feel like I'm the opposite. I don't read into the lines. And then
That's
I'm
my
like,
problem. Like,
oh
I'm
shit,
terrified of commitment.
disaster zone. I'm not gonna do this again. Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna do this
Like,
again.
ooh, red flag, my
I
favorite color.
know. Yeah, yeah. It. There's something about it. It's
It's
people.
like
People want
you attract what you
They
are.
want
Yeah.
danger, and they want an element of excitement in their lives. You know. So.
Yeah, I'm over that part. I'm ready for like, let's get deep. Let's get focused on the future and what we want, like
Yeah.
what we want to see. Because I don't want to live my life like this. 'Cause, yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Well, I don't know. I in my travels I've met a lot of women that are really amazing women, and a lot of them have struggled with love and intimacy. And so I don't feel so alone when like after I traveled, cuz I thought I was like the only one, but I don't think I am. I think a lot of people are affected by it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, men too. I mean,
Well, yeah.
society's trained them that like they have to be a bad boy to get a girl excited when that's not it at all. But the line is so blurry with that whole conversation itself.
Yeah. Well, I think people want to recreate whatever feels familiar to them. So, if the bad boy feels familiar, I don't know. For me, it's weird because like I like that type, but sometimes, but my dad wasn't like that. but my grandpa was.
Yeah.
My like when you were talking about your dad being like a sex addict and your grandpa having sex with your grandma every single day of her life and all that stuff. It just
Mhm.
reminded me so much of my grandpa because my grandpa was like he was like a rip snorter and he was like a womanizer and he was very smart but he was very troubled, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And maybe it's like I'm more seeking like my grandpa than my dad because my dad was really on an even keel. Like he didn't drink or smoke, and he was really, actually a really good person. So,
So you do
but
you
I spent
think
a
like
lot of
you're
time.
seeking that?
I spent a lot of time with my grandpa when I was a kid. So like, because my mom like reconciled with him, and yeah, so maybe that could be it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, because I feel like to some extent we attract what state we're in. Like if we're
Mm,
not really
yeah.
feeling like our best self,
No,
like we kind of attract
you're right.
chaos.
Yep. Yeah, and you get really obsessive when your life is really shitty. Like, because it becomes the thing that, like, you hold on to get you through it. But, like, when
Yeah,
you,
it's like you get a taste of the excitement.
yeah, but it's actually just fight or flight, like adrenaline. Like,
Yeah, it's an addiction to an extent.
seeking validation externally and doing shit you normally wouldn't do and being crazy, you know? So.
Yeah. I was actually talking to my friend. I was like, you should go to like a we're like joking around, but then she's like, that's actually not a bad idea. Like going to a codependency anonymous class.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard
Like,
about
I think
that
it's
from
great.
this lady that I've been listening to and uh yeah, there are codependency 12-step programs, which I was not aware of.
Mm-mm.
So you can have a 12-step program in any addiction like sex or gambling, you know. Oh my god, this new
Mhm.
job, I it's not so much the alcoholics now, it's the gambling addicts. It's an interesting. I want to write a paper on it cuz you like did you know about the Mega Millions?
No, what happened now?
So there was like a $1 billion jackpot or some shit. Or I don't know.
One
It was
person win.
it was like yeah, it was insane and one person in Maine won it like
Mm.
yesterday or something or the day before and I don't know. I just the odds are so against you in those like lotteries. It's absurd. Like I feel like people just burn their money down the drain. It's really sad.
I don't even know. I think some fake person won that shit. And the government spending it on something else.
Right. Yeah, it could be.
Who knows?
But yeah. So, like before we get into your story, I just really quickly want to talk about kind of the recent past and what got you into conspiracy like because you obviously grew up in Freemasonry, but what was it that really woke you up?
I think honestly, my dad. Uh, I had lost a friend, and I was at a really low point where I honestly like I was like not planning, but really considering killing myself. And one of my really good friends killed himself, and it really woke me up. Like I really need to change my life. Like seeing the aftermath of how he'd left everyone like just mourning him. Like I didn't want to do that to my family, even though I have that disconnect with them. Like it just really put things into perspective. And then after that, my dad, he's just in another. like he had lost like his girlfriend, not lost her, but she dumped him and ended up lying about all this stuff. And he ended up faking his suicide and putting that on like Facebook to get attention. And I get a call like while I'm at work from my sister saying like I can't, dad's not answering his phone. I don't know what's going on. His friend just called and said, your dad's posting this stuff like blank blank in car crash at age 57 or whatever. And it was just, I, it, I literally, I thought I lost my dad. And like, I was already kind of in a weird relationship with him where like, I was deciding on like, do I want him in my life? Do I need to take a step away? Like, because it's just not healthy. And like him doing that and then finding out he was fine, it just enraged me. Like, you knew what just happened to my friend and you're pulling this because no one's giving you attention. Like, are you that fucking selfish and narcissistic? And like, it just made me so angry. And like, we had called his ex-girlfriend and she told us the truth about like what really happened. And I believed her because other things had happened in the past. And I think my anger towards my dad just really kind of like sparked a fire and woke me up because my whole life I was trying to like please him, like daddy issues for real. And like I just wanted my dad's approval for everything and I never got it. And I was the one that was always defending him when he was wrong and like always like going to his side like to defend him. And like for him to lie to me like repeatedly and for me to just like finally come to the point where I'm like I'm done. This is so unhealthy. It's destroying myself because I'm like, why am I bending over backwards for someone who doesn't even really love me or like has some sick form of love? Like he just doesn't understand it. And like he's never been a dad to me. So what am I really losing? And like me taking that step back from that relationship, it completely opened my eyes to everything and like putting all these patterns together because I felt like a sheet was over my head. Like I kind of blocked everything out because I was just so focused on the approval aspect of the relationship instead of like I'm doing all these things with my dad that aren't healthy for a father daughter relationship.
Mm, yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, frick. So
a
heavy,
lot.
Red.
Yeah. Oh,
Ugh. So do you wanna kind of talk about your childhood and growing up in the Shriner temples and just kind of your story? I guess we can start because we're about 30 minutes in. So.
yeah. So I grew up. Um, my dad came from Connecticut. My mom from Miami, and they met in Florida. And had my sister, and then 5 years, 6 years later, they had me after my sister pretty much like begged for them to have a sibling because they were just content on having my sister. And she begged them, and she actually named me. Like she said, if she's a girl, I'm going to name her so and so. And if she's a boy, we'll name them. So ended up being a girl. So my sister named me. So my sister and I had completely different childhoods because of that age gap. So she got most of my parents being together, like the happy, like family always together, the parties, the big shows, all of that. And so when I was 5 years old, my parents split, and I didn't really know what was going on. I was in private school at the time, and I just remember like going to the nurse and like crying, like, I want to go home. Like, I just didn't understand what was going on. Like, where's my dad? Like what is going on? Because my parents, they never fought. Like, they didn't, like, at least not in front of me, but they had intimacy issues. And my mom wouldn't sleep with him, basically. Like, he wasn't getting enough action at home. So, um, in the process of us moving to Colorado, actually, he went out before we got there and he cheated on my mom. And before the girl in Colorado, he cheated on her with my dentist. And
Oh,
the dentist's
really?
office,
Oh my god.
yeah. And my grandpa was part owner in that office. So, like, they all knew each other. And she still did my teeth. It's just weird. And my mom had no idea. And my dad, he eventually told me when I was probably 12 years old that he cheated on my mom, and my mom didn't even know. So, like, having that, like, secret at a young age and, like, not knowing what to do with it because he specifically told me, like, I've only told this many people and blah, blah, blah. And yeah,
Yeah. And that's just so crazy that he did that to you at such a young age, that he put that burden on you, you know?
yeah, and it wasn't like he was trying to, like, get me to be upset at my mom, but, like, in a way, he kind of was because he was putting the, like, intention out there that if you don't sleep with your husband, he's gonna cheat on you. And, like, my dad would tell me, like, don't get fat because men don't want to be with anyone that's, like, fat. Like, he would just tell me all this shit, and it just destroyed my confidence. And, like, he would, like, pick me up for our weekly dinner night, and I would come out with, like, I think ripped jeans, and he would have like a whole, like, he would yell at me and like make me go inside and change because I was just unpresentable for fucking ripped jeans. And so just like little things like that. Like, he was always worried about my appearance and how like I presented myself to like his friends, like like family events, like going out. Like, he just didn't want to ever look like a low life. I don't know. And my mom was like the complete opposite. She was very just a sweet, like, good woman. And she was a stay at home wife and mom, and went from that to like my dad divorcing her and having to take care of two girls. And we went from my dad making over like 300 grand a year, couple different properties. And from that, he went to basically like nothing, like left his job, tried to do something else that didn't work out. And then he met this woman who had money, and I spent a lot of time there. And I basically was only there to give her son attention while they did whatever they wanted to do. And one time that I was there, my dad left, and apparently he went to go marry another woman while his girlfriend was watching me. And he did that for
Wow.
money.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And he did that for money. And he always was like, he always could like get money somehow from someone.
Mm.
He was very lucky, like naturally, like, and he owes people money to this day, and they're never gonna see it, unfortunately. But he's very like a smooth businessman
Mhm.
type,
Mhm.
and so it really it affected me, and like during the midst of all of that, my dad, because didn't we didn't like really hang out a lot. Like it was he'd pick me up on the every other weekend, and then he'd pretty much take me to my grandparents' house because he didn't have a place to live. And when he did, it was he was living behind my uncle's house, like in his guest house, and we called it the shack. And me and my dad would literally sleep on like a love seat couch. It was like a two-seater couch, and like he didn't even have a bed or anything. And so like we'd spend a lot of time at my grandparents' house because of that. And then he'd go off and do his own thing with women. And my grandparents, they would take me to the lodge because they spent most of their time there. And when I say the lodge, I'm talking about the Shriners Lodge at this point, or the Shriner Temple.
And this is in Florida, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Southern Florida?
Yes, South
Okay.
Florida.
Okay. All right. All right. Great.
Mm,
Thank you. That's very
yeah.
good. Okay. So, do you want to continue and
Yes.
talk about
So,
more like your family and the kind of your experiences that you had? Like what you said, like your sister and you were the lodge princesses.
yeah. So, my grandpa, he was the potentate of the Shriner Temple, which is basically like equivalent to like the Shriner president of the lodge. So he's basically in charge of organizing everything, putting events together, getting funding, all that kind of stuff. And he was in charge of like getting funding for the transportation for the hospitals, like the children's hospitals. And he's in the order of the Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah, the
And
Order of the Q.
yeah, and
It's
that's in his
crazy.
obituary. And when I saw that, and I was looking into it, and that's when I stumbled on New York Patriot podcast on Quetzalcoatl and the Shriners and all of that. And I was like, whoa, like, what is this? What does this mean? And then I ended up like looking it up, and it says like on the obituary, like Order of the Q past Kamatli. And I was like, what does Kamatli mean? And I forget it, like what specific like deity it means, but it's a deity of some level. And so I'm like, okay, Grandpa, what are you into? Because apparently I have no idea. And when he did pass, there was a whole ordeal with like where his service was going to be because they tried to have it at a church, and like a big church. And my uncle had to basically pay off the church to have the service there because they weren't going to allow it because of the Freemason ties that he had.
Mm, yeah.
So not a lot of people in my family knew that
So,
either.
and he was 33rd degree, correct?
Yes, my grandpa's 33rd degree, my dad 33rd degree, and my uncle 33rd degree.
All right. Okay, and
And
I'm
then,
wait, really quick. I
yeah,
just want to read to cuz I want people to know about Order Q cuz I don't think probably anybody's heard of it other than us. So I'm just
Yeah,
really,
it's a little out there.
I'm really quickly gonna read the Wikipedia. So the Order of Quetzalcoatl, colloquially known as the Q, is a Masonic invitational body. So all of these higher orders of Masonry, like the Jesters, I don't think the Shriners are, but the Jesters in the Order of Quetzalcoatl are invitation only. So your grandfather
Mhm.
was invited into it. Um, it is heavily involved in philanthropy, and its main contribution is towards transportation funds for Shriners hospitals. The order, which was founded in Mexico City in 1945, takes its name from the Aztec god Quetzalcoatl. Its chapters, called Teocallis Nahuatl, for House of God, are located in the United States, Canada, Mexico, and Panama. All members of the order, called artisans, must be Shriners in good standing in their shrine temples. The order derives its terminology from Nahuatl, and its rituals are loosely based on Aztec ritual, including the use of Tepanazili, war drum, and the sacred drake pulk. The order consists of an initiation and a 2 degrees artisan and master artisan. A candidate becomes a coat when he is initiated into the order. Then he becomes an artisan through ritual ceremony. He may then advance to master artisan either through a consecration ceremonies at the order's annual business meeting called the Feast of Fire, or traveling through to the Temple of Quetzalcoatl in Mexico City or Chichen Itza in Cancun. Okay, so sorry,
Mhm.
Red, you can continue. Sorry, I just wanted to say that.
And I know my grandpa's been to those temples in Mexico, I believe.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the Feast of Fire, and they were looking at New York Patriot, and I can't remember that guy's name that he's with
Oh,
on
la,
Lux. Yeah,
la.
he was or they were showing these Feast of Fire kind of Instagram and like social media pages, and it was a lot of like these older men with these really young, looking local girls that
Yeah.
they found. So um, yeah, so we'll talk about the kind of the Shriners and stuff a little bit later on in relation to that. So sorry, I'm so sorry for interrupting you. I feel
You're
so
good.
bad.
I forgot where I was at, but no, you're good. You're good.
So can you continue? Sorry.
Yeah. So, spent a lot of time like growing up at the lodge, like mostly starting at the age of like 5, like when my parents split. And so I was the one that was mostly there. And then so my dad has me and my sister, my uncle, no kids at the time, and then my aunt of that side of the family. She um has my cousin with her husband. Her husband isn't involved with the Masons at all. He's just a firefighter, normal guy. She's batshit crazy. But I spent a lot of time with my cousin growing up, and I have like a very strong feeling that my aunt, something happened to her that kind of broke her, where she's just kind of nuts. Like she's just very unstable, 0 to 100. Like you never really know what you're gonna get with her. And so that like had a lot to do with my cousin's life, and I was around for a lot of it. And my cousin, she would just like cry and like beg her dad to leave her mom because it was just that bad. And but starting at a young age, she started doing what I'm assuming was done to her to me. And like it first started out with she would take me into my aunt's room and force me to watch gay porn. And then she would do stuff to me. And then after that, she would like put on like Two Girls, One Cup when that was going on. And like she would just start to like desensitize me to these insane things. and then she would kind of just start working up to greater things. And like, I didn't really know what was going on. She was my older cousin, like 2 years older than me. And I don't really know what's going on. I don't know any better. So I'm just like following along. Like, my parents trust my aunt enough for me to be here. I'm not going to bother my mom knowing what she's going through. And my dad, he's off doing whatever. So I'm pretty much raising myself at this point, 5 years old,
So
hanging out.
you were 5 years old when this physical abuse by your cousin started.
The physical abuse started around 8,
Okay. But the but like
but
but like what gay porn like men?
yeah,
Oh my god. That's insane.
yeah, and I didn't really understand it, especially like I didn't know what being gay was like at that age. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
anything. And
Yeah.
like, my aunt is married to a man that like wouldn't make sense anyway. But then like, I'm seeing the men, and my cousin is a girl, and she's doing stuff to me. So I'm seeing the guys, like, so it's like same sex. So here I am thinking this is normal same sex. So
Wow.
yeah, and then she would like tie me up and like play doctor or whatever, like just like sick games. And then she would threaten me, like if I ever were to say anything, she would hurt me. And so I never said anything. And like, she would spend the night at my grandparents' house, or like my aunt would come over, and then like my cousin would beg for them to like let her sleep over. And in my head, I'm internally like freaking out, like, please don't let her sleep over. Like, take her home, take her home. And then like, they would let her sleep over. And I knew like, I'm gonna have a long night ahead of me. And my grandparents are on the other side of the house, and they have no clue. And yeah, so then
It's just
I would
heartbreaking.
go home to my mom's house, and that's when she got involved with going to church. And like, up until that point, I had never been to church. Like, my dad wasn't like a we weren't like a church going family. So like, that was confusing too. So I'm doing that like 2, 3 times a week sometimes, because my mom like put all of herself into that, because that like saved her from, the destruction of the marriage and losing the family that she like loved. And yeah, so I didn't want to bother my mom. Like, I didn't feel like I could tell anyone, because no one's really like checking up on me, because I'm very quiet at that point, and like controlled. And and then it got to the point where like, I would just expect it. And it really messed with my mind, because I felt like I was the problem. And like, and that's why I had the disconnect with church, because I just felt like, how can this stuff happen to me? And then like, I go to church and act like nothing is wrong, and my mom has no idea. And like, we have a disconnect, because then she gets remarried, and they're together, and like, he gets cancer, and then they get more involved in the church, and then I get less attention from everyone. My sister's 6 years older than me. She doesn't want to hang out with her little sister. And like, I was completely isolated, and like, it led me down a dark path of like being over sexualized, because here I am,
Mm.
like, my dad
Cause you were
divorced my
shattered.
mom.
Cause you're. your
Yeah.
consciousness was shattered as a child, so like you were saying, you just check out because you don't know how to feel like feel it, and that's totally understandable for someone that's had your experience, you know?
Yeah. And, and like it like I didn't have any like I've never been like I wasn't an emotional person until like I got my own therapy because I was like forced into therapy after the divorce. And like I would just manipulate the therapist into thinking I'm okay because I didn't want to be there. Like I didn't understand why I was there and
Mhm.
it wasn't gonna help me. So I just checked out and like yeah, and like that spread out into my life. Like I became very manipulative, like my father, who I
Mm.
despised and didn't want to
Mm.
be anything like. And
Mhm.
here I am thinking, oh, I'm going to be nothing like him, but I'm exactly like him.
Mm. And like you were saying earlier, how you constantly wanted his approval. Um, yeah. So it makes sense.
Yeah, like I felt like I was the son he never had. The like that, like the sports that I loved, I fell out of love because it was like I was still never good enough, even though I was really good. And so he just like took the joy out of everything for me. And so like and that's like stemmed into my life now where like I could do anything and be good at it, but I have no fulfillment and that breaks my heart because that's all I want.
Yeah. Well, it's cuz, you're still seeking that validation that you never got, which makes, it makes a lot of sense cuz you were totally broken and shattered by multiple people in your family. So, oh, sweetie, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
You want to take a break
No,
or
no, I'm good. I'm
okay.
good. I know it's heavy stuff. I feel like even though it's hard to like talk about sometimes, like it doesn't like I'm not afraid or I'm not like I'm good. I'm in a good place. Like I don't have nightmares or like I'm okay. I, I feel like the real work is gonna come like when I do decide to like get into a relationship because there's so much work I still have to do and unlearn and like it's really frustrating because I feel like I was like broken at such an early age that I have to work thrice as hard to
Oh,
like
definitely.
be
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
And like I don't like being a victim. Like I don't ever want to feel like that. So I don't know, like that's why like I feel like empowered to talk about this because I don't want it to like hold me back. I don't want to like live my whole life afraid of living because I will do that if I stay stuck in these patterns that have been like forced upon me without me even knowing what's going on.
Well, and
So me identifying those patterns is helping.
exactly because you're becoming aware of it all. And that's the only way you
Mm,
can become free of your trauma is through the awareness that first you do have patterns that are unhealthy, and that disassociation is the number one uh symptom of somebody that's been traumatized as a child, especially sexually. It's how the ego protects itself from unthinkable acts. And but it's not to say that like you can't come to the light, because just by speaking your truth and your story, you're helping other people find their wounds, and it is really courageous. I'm just so proud that you wanted to talk to me, because when I listened, like I said, when I listened to your podcast with New York Patriot, I was just crying. I was so sad. I was just like, oh my God, like I can't believe, my friend has gone through this and she's so strong still through it all. And that's what I really realized. So I wanted to tell you that.
Oh, yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's a journey.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. So you were you were at this age, and you had talked about how you were so involved in the Shriner temples, and that you and your sister were kind of spectacles. Like you were
Yes.
always on display, and then you were always at the events with the clowns, and how they were kind of your family. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so like hanging out at the lodge, pretty much everyone in there that would frequent knew who I was and I knew who they were for the most part. And then the clowns that were a part of the Shriners and like they were a part of the lodge as well. Like some of them would dress up as clowns and I'm not sure if all of them were a part of the Shriners, but the majority were like in the group as well. But yeah, they would come to our birthday parties. And then whenever they would throw the Shriner Circus, my sister, they would send her out on like the elephant to like sing the national anthem. And it was just, my grandpa loved to show off. He loved to have like parties and drink and like have everyone kind of like appreciate him in a sense. And I just remember like they had a bar inside of that Shriner temple, and I would go there, and I don't even know when I started drinking Shirley Temples, but that was
Yeah.
like the drink of choice there.
Mhm.
But so I would get my Shirley Temple, and I would kind of just wander around, and there was a specific hallway of the temple, and it was always dark. Like I don't remember it ever being like lit up at all, and the bathroom was in that hallway, and even further, there were like multiple rooms that kind of spaced apart, and they were like locked rooms. But
Mm.
I never knew like what was on the other side of them.
Mm.
And I would have
Interesting.
this repeating dream where I was in my body, like being trafficked, and it's kind of hard because in the dream that I would always have, I could never tell like my age or like I could never like really yeah, like it felt very real and very like I'm trying to explain this.
Like more visceral than a dream.
Yeah, like I could feel everything happening, but I couldn't really tell like the specific as of like who
Where you
I was.
were. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like
Were
like I could
you.
tell like the
So,
feeling, like the energy.
yeah, like, so when you say traffic, I know you didn't really go into that, but like, were you just, like, in a room? Like, what, if,
Yeah,
if you
so
want
I
to share
remember
your
being like
imagery.
there were it was mostly the same dream, but it was different kind of each time for the most part. And like the difference was like I would be like walked into this room, presented, tied up, put into like cages with like different like trapeze, like just different all kinds of things. And I always just remember being this like a spectacle, like on display to be touched and tormented, and I couldn't do anything about it. And that was the entire dream. And like, I don't know why, for some
Wow.
reason, I feel like it's tied to either that temple
Hmm.
or somebody else,
So was
their
this
energy. I
wasn't
don't
was this
know.
the temple in Connecticut?
This was in South
So
Florida.
this was in South
The
Florida. Okay.
temple,
Yeah.
yeah. When we went back to Connecticut for my great grandma's funeral, we went back to the Masonic Lodge, not the Shriner Temple.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you.
So I'm not sure when. I don't know if my grandpa got involved with the Shriners when he came to Florida or Connecticut, but the Connecticut was mostly like the Masons. So
Mm. So was it
we
like
went,
okay, so I just want to ask you really quick before you continue.
yeah,
When you're talking about the Shriner Temple in Florida, there was a bar in it, and like you said, there were these locked rooms, but the energy there was kind of more, would you say, Elks Lodge-ish, or more like less like intense, whereas this Masonic Lodge in Connecticut, you said you felt a very heavy, dark energy there. You want to talk about that?
yes, yes. So the lodge in Connecticut when we went back for the funeral and we walked in and like I've never remembered being there. And we walked in and everyone knew who my grandpa was. It was like he never left. It was very weird. And we walked in and this place had a basement. It was like an old brick building. It had like multiple levels, but it was still kind of, it felt small, but it had a lot of space. And it just felt very dark. Like it just felt like something happened here, or it had a very dark, negative energy to it. And it was the same kind of energy I felt like walking past those rooms. And like I could tie that same feeling to like my dream. So the lodge, the Shriner Temple in Florida, that it didn't have a super negative feeling, but it didn't have a positive feeling. It felt very like kind of void. Like
Mm.
just yeah, neither or. I don't know.
Okay. So and so were you having this dream? When did you start having this dream? Was this prior to this experience, or was this like when do you first remember having this dream?
I remember having this dream when I was like probably like 7.
Wow. And you're saying trapezes and stuff?
Yeah, like being like hung from the ceiling
Oh
in like cages, boards, like kind of medieval times, like
my god. Uh-huh.
your head and like a hole with your arms and
Mhm.
like saddles and just weird. Like, and I didn't know what I was seeing in these dreams because I'm 7 years old. Like, I don't know what I'm. So, like, that's why, like, I can't tell if this dream is real or, but I don't know where it would come from, you know?
Yeah, like if it's either it's a dream, or if you're either it's an experience that you had, or it's a vision of something that happened in those temples.
Yeah, like, am I picking up off the energy of like what maybe happened in those rooms, or am I picking up off the energy of my cousin or my aunt because I was around them a lot?
Mm.
I yeah, so
Mhm.
like that's the confusing part.
Mhm. And like earlier, we were talking earlier before we started about, I was telling you about RH negative, and I asked you if you were RH
Hmm.
negative because you are redheaded, and They say that redheads are a lot more psychic than the general population. So that's kind of why there's like Rh negative or redheads are sought after in MK Ultra type conditioning. Um, so it could like it is really hard to say one way or the other. Really, I don't know, and I think that's something that you may never know.
Yeah.
Because childhood, it is so murky when you have those. Like, my first memory is of when my mom sent me away when my brother was born because she didn't sleep during my whole brother's pregnancy. So she was going insane and she had to send me away.
Mm.
So I was with my grandma in the mountains and I remember it very vividly, but it's like, it's like you were saying, it's like vivid, but it's like, it's almost like a cartoon. Like it's
Yeah.
weird. It's like I know I experienced that, but it was when I was so young that it's almost dreamlike. So, yeah.
Yeah. And like I stopped having that dream probably when I was around 13, 14.
And you
Because
don't
my
you
mom,
don't generally dream at all, right? You were saying that.
yeah, so my mom, she had gotten me a dream catcher. And I have no idea what happened, but I stopped dreaming pretty much when that started. And then after that, up until now, my dreaming has basically been deja vu. So
Mm.
something will happen and it'll be nothing crazy, but I'm like, I've had this conversation. I've talked to these people before. I've seen this, that. What's going on?
Mhm.
But I don't understand that part at all. But I don't, and like a lot of people say, if you smoke weed, you don't really dream a lot. I'm like, I mean, I wasn't really smoking weed when I was 12, so I don't really know how to explain that.
Right.
You know, I
Well,
get it to a point, but
maybe
you know,
I know like I smoke weed every day and if I don't smoke for a month or two at a time, there's been a few times I've been overseas that I couldn't get it. And oh my god, the dreams are so vivid. And actually there was two experiences I had where I was on antibiotics and
hmm
I had night terrors of demons and it was
really,
like so real. Like it was like I was really with those demons. Like I'm not going to lie. Like
that's
both
scary.
both times. Like the first time was in Thailand and like the whole thing was this demon was just like it was the demon from like Twin Peaks Bob and he was like taunting me and I couldn't escape him. It was like it was kind of like the Agent Smith thing where every face was him, like he was in every person. Like I couldn't get away
Brutal.
and then like there was just this demon dog that was just eating me alive over and over again like in this kind of weird hell. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I didn't have water and I was in this village cuz like you can't drink the tap water in Thailand. So I had to go walk to 7-Eleven in the middle of the night and then there's this fucking mongrel dog that's like got like rabies and like is like hairless and all disgusting and it's like fucking growling at me and I'm like, oh my fucking god, I was so scared.
Oh no.
And then like this yeah, and then the second time was in Hungary when I was really sick and I was on antibiotics because I had like self irrigated my ear infection with black mold. So I was like, I was so fucked up.
No.
I was so fucked up.
That's gross.
And then like, I just have this like vision, or it's like it was like a vision. It wasn't even like a dream because it was just so like the terror of it.
It
And
felt so real.
I was on this train with this demon, and there was like fucking pyramids, and it was like the train in Budapest, but it was like pyramids, and then it was Colorado out of nowhere, and then like it ended, and I woke up in like the craziest sweat ever, and I was just like, I think when you're at really low points in your life, you're very susceptible to demonic attacks. I know my friend Tech Tai has been recently having some kind of dark entities in his home that he can't really get rid of. So
Mm,
it's scary shit, man. Like,
it
uh,
is. I mean, there is something to it. Like you kind of have to command it out. Like
mm,
let it know that it doesn't have control over you. Like I command you in the name of Jesus Christ,
mm-hmm.
get out of here. Goodbye.
And it's funny because, for in my experience too, I had an experience where it wasn't a place that was necessarily demonic. It was a person that was schizophrenic that I knew, my friend, and a demon had like attached to him, and it was just following him around. And so I was in his orbit, so I kind of got caught in the crossfires for a short period of time, and it was really not pleasant because I remember just every night I could feel something on the ceiling watching me. Every night. Like I could not
Oh,
escape. I could not escape that feeling. And then like one time I was
did
by
you feel
myself.
paranoid?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I always felt on edge, and like I just felt there was something really bad, and like we had an experience with this like heavy breathing thing that did not sound human. And then I was by myself, and I was tripping on a designer drug called 2CI, and the lights were
Mhm.
going off and on by themselves. So, and I was tripping, so I was just like, "Great, I'm alone with demon tripping. This is excellent." So, it's something
No,
that,
too
yeah,
fair.
and I wanted to tell Tech Tai this because I didn't get to, but I was listening to a podcast of this girl that she grew up in a Pentecostal family in the South, and so her family is very religious, and they had straight up like demonic, like her cousin was like lifted through the air and crazy shit. Like, so it seems like
It's
very
crazy.
religious people are magnets, or very spiritual people are magnets for demonic activity.
Yeah, because the devil doesn't want you to know.
Oh my god. Oh,
Oh,
well,
man.
so. Okay, and
Oh,
then I think there's just one more thing I just wanted to talk with you about that I remember that you shared, and it was kind of chilling and interesting how it ended up on the New York Patriot podcast when you were talking with him about it. But do you want to talk about when you were 2 and you almost drowned?
okay, yeah. So I was 2 years old, but like between 1 and 2, really young. Like, you know those like baby walkers that you can kind of roll around,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't have like free range to like walk off or whatever. So I had scooted the walker all the way down the stairs in like the outside patio to the pool. And my mom and my sister, they were outside in like the yard where the like citrus trees were. And I had gone into the pool in the walker. And because the walker was so like it like submerged, the weight, like you couldn't lift it up once it was completely under. And I was like seatbelt buckled in. So I had drowned. And my mom heard the splash. My sister and her came running. My mom jumped in and tried to lift it out. She couldn't. And like I was like unconscious at this point. And she finally like unbuckled me and like lifted me out and got the water out of me. But I literally like drowned. And my sister, I had done like a reading with somebody, and had told my sister like about what happened, and the next night she had a dream of this happening, and like she visually saw me drowning, my mom running, and like my sister, she was in her body seeing it, my body experiencing it, and my mom's body like acting on it.
Wow.
And
Ooh.
2 years later, I cracked my head open in the shower. My sister left me for like a couple seconds to get out and get like towels for us. And it was like a towel shower with a ledge. And I slipped and cracked my head open on the ledge and had to get stitches and um, or staples, stitches, whatever. And that was when I was like 4 or 5. Like, no, yeah, 4. And so a lot of stuff with water
Mm.
has happened to me, and my middle name, it has to do with water. And it's just kind of weird that my sister like had that dream and like experienced all that, and her being the one that named me, and then that same person that gave me a reading had sent me this past life regression to like do on my own. And I did it, and I clearly like saw my like past life, and my sister was actually the only one in my family that was there in that regression, and she was the only one like giving me the go ahead to basically do what I really wanted to do. So it's just kind of interesting that in a way she's kind of brought me back to get through the divorce. Like maybe she needed me, even though I've sort of resented her in a way for bringing me into this life, for just for me to be on my own. And like, I guess I've sort of like resented her having a completely different childhood, and I never really had one. So we have like a disconnect in that sense because we're completely different people, and like she'll never be able to understand where I'm coming from.
So
So
she never experienced any of that trauma that you did.
no. And I've asked her, I'm like, do you have like any missing memories or like stuff that just seems off? And she's like, yeah, but nothing that like really stands out. And so I don't really know. And like she was kind of the favorite grandchild. Like my grandpa, like she was definitely his favorite. And he would take us to like Disney. Like we had season passes for like living in Florida. So we would go all the time, and like he would take her to like we would go to Nickelodeon, like the slime time thing, and like she would get slimed on like the TV or whatever. So like stuff like that, like she was very spoiled and like got whatever she wanted from him. So I don't know. So like she kind of I feel like maybe blocks out memories because she has such a fond memory of my grandpa that I don't think her mind would let her like go to that dark place. And we've talked about it, but she kind of doesn't want to know certain things because of that.
Hmm. Is
Whereas
she awake? Like is she red pilled or
pretty much, yeah,
okay.
she's
So you can like
she's
talk
come a
about
long
this
way.
stuff with her without you seeming crazy.
For the she still thinks I'm crazy, but I
Yeah.
don't care.
And
But at least I can talk to her about it.
she has kids, right?
Yeah, she's about to have her fourth.
Wow.
I know,
Damn.
crazy.
Well, that's cool.
But
You get a bunch of nieces and nephews, right?
Yeah, buys me some time. Oh,
Yeah.
good for now.
Yeah, no, I
I'd like
know.
more kids, but
I like kids
no
too.
rush.
I like kids too. Yeah, it was today this guy I went to high school with. It's crazy because last year he almost killed himself, and
Mm.
he has like 3 kids now. And luckily, thank God he didn't do it. People called him, talked about it. But he had his little girl today. And she was so cute. She was in her like Belle, costume, and
Yeah.
it made me kind of wistful, but I don't know.
That's a reason to live.
I'm grateful that I don't have kids right now just cuz of like how crazy like the times are, and I would just be
Times are always gonna be
I
crazy.
know, I know. But at the same time, like, I don't know.
I get it.
I feel like there was a stupid commercial and it was like having a kid is like having your heart outside your body. And I was like, yeah, that's what it would be like. It would be like you have no control of your heart being outside
Honestly,
your
I was
body. And like that
never.
would scare me. Like to me that would scare me because I don't know, like I just yeah.
It's different. Like, I was never the kid that fantasized about, like, having kids, getting married. Like, I was just not that kid because my life was just very different. But having my nephew, that literally changed everything for me. Like, I was on the, like, no kids ever bus. Like,
Yeah.
go ahead. My sister can have all the kids. I'm
Yeah.
good. I don't want to put them through what I went through.
Uh-huh.
I'm good. But he really softened my heart. And, like,
Oh.
I do want kids now.
Oh,
And,
cool. Good for you.
like, I feel, like, empowered to, like, teach them completely different, like, than
Mhm.
the kids are growing up these days. And
Mhm.
I think it's our responsibility to raise the future because it ain't gonna raise itself. That's
Well,
for sure.
I might be going into education very soon because
That's huge.
the
That's
pay
huge.
is
We
like
need people like you.
no, it's crazy because yeah, they're like he's like I'm on the school board and I doubled the salary of the substitute teachers. I'm like, okay, maybe I will get back
But
into
even if
teaching
that
these
like doesn't work
kids.
out,
Huh?
even if that doesn't work out because they could possibly require you to get vaccinated still,
No,
you could look
no.
into like
No,
homeschooling.
there's no vaccine mandate here anywhere except for like the medical. Because my brother, unfortunately, he wants to be a phlebotomist, but he can't because of the mandate. But like, I actually am going to apply to be a treasurer for a town because the pay is $22 to $30 an hour with benefits. And I'm like highly educated, so I could actually get it. I just don't have like accounting experience, so that'd be kind of hard. But yeah. Anyway,
Mm,
I don't know what I was gonna
you can.
say with that, but like, yeah, either job. At least I'll be using my skills because I do have like a political science degree. Um, I have two political science degrees, and then I have teaching experience. So I like teaching high school kids because I like their coming of age. I think I can deal with them a lot better than like the little kids because I
Yeah.
can have a conversation with them and try to like talk to them about things that they like. And I actually like my last class in Thailand was high school students and they were really really awesome. So yeah, I might get back into that stuff because you're right. It's like the kids are the future, and oh my god, in the public school system today, I can't even imagine what they're being taught in like UN Agenda
It's
2030.
scary. It's scary. My
Yeah.
nephew wants to be homeschooled. What does that say?
Already? Yeah.
Yeah, he's like begging to be homeschooled, and we're just like, hang in there,
Oh.
bud.
Yeah.
We teach him life skills.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
man.
I see myself in him, and I'd really I try to give him all the love I can because I don't know, like I guess because I do see so much of myself in him that it worries me, and like I'll have conversations with him like to make sure he knows like he can always tell me whatever. And like recently he kind of opened up and told me that he's been seeing this like creature, like this shadow figure in his room that turns into this werewolf. And I'm like, did you tell your mommy or daddy? Like, does anyone know? Like, and he's 8 years old. So it kind of freaked me out a little. I'm like, if you're seeing this stuff, like, so it's concerning. So I told him, I'm like, and how does that like make you feel? Like, do you feel scared? Do you like what's going through your head when you see that? And he's like, I don't really know how to feel. Like, I don't feel scared, but I don't feel good. And I'm like, okay, so this is, I just told him, like, okay, I want to know something cool. God is stronger than any of that. And all you have to do is literally command them to leave in his name, and you're safe. And like, I could see the look on his face change, and like, he gets it. Like, he's very like curious, like I am. So it's very cool to like have kind of different conversations that are not normal for a younger kid.
God, I wish I had had you growing up as my aunt because when I saw a shadow person, I thought it was my grandpa.
Aunt Kiki.
I was like, oh, look, there's great grandpa. He's got a top
Grandpas are the
hat.
best.
He's got a top hat.
Oh.
And then later, Mysterious Universe podcast, that was kind of before I woke up, but it was like, these are the shadow people, and they look like this. I was like, oh my god, that could happen to me. So yeah, kids are open. They can definitely see stuff that adults can't. I wholeheartedly
Yeah.
agree.
He freaking loves this like Skinwalker show.
Oh no.
This documentary. Like, what is going on? Why are you
uh,
watching this?
yeah, you should tell him. This is very good Navajo wisdom. Do never
Yeah.
whistle at night because if you
Never whistle at night.
yeah, if you whistle
Oh,
at
yeah.
night, the skinwalkers will come after you. But dude, that shit is real. It is. Like I've heard some stories and there's no way it's not real. Like
Yeah, it's crazy because like the natives don't even want you to say the name, like that alone.
well, it's yeah, and it's just so desolate out there. If you've ever been out there, it's just there's nothing out there, and so when shit happens, it's like
Big
they're not
news.
making it up. And
Yeah.
like my friend, she had her like great grandma's oral histories, and she was walking like miles, and there was this man with a white beard that was just following her in the middle of
Santa?
nowhere. Yeah, he was a skinwalker. Like,
That's freaky.
yeah, but he was like, he looked like Raiden from like Mortal Kombat. Like, so like, that story freaked me
No.
the fuck out. I was like, that's way creepier than any kind of creature. Like, you know.
I don't even know like what to do.
Yeah, yeah, just don't come out
I
here
don't
and you'll
know.
be okay.
It's
I don't like going out at night here. There's definitely a vibe about this place that's beyond supernatural. It's just it doesn't
like, do
feel
you
right.
feel like kind of small?
Huh?
Do you feel like small in a sense?
No, no, you just don't feel good going out at night ever. Like it's just I mean if it's early night, whatever, but if it's late night, it's just there's just the energy of this place. It's like
Mm.
there's like I don't know, they say like Indian burial grounds and then they say there's cannibalism, but like I don't know, I think it's more of like there was a reset here. There was like an ancient civilization that was wiped out and um,
There's some dark energy.
yeah, and then
For
there's apparently a deep underground military base right under like the mountain where I live. Apparently,
of
on the
course.
map. So
Hiding all that
so
radiation.
there's this lady showing me pictures today around that area, and I was all, and she's like, "Look, there's a tunnel," and I was like, I was like, I want to know that geolocation. I want to go. I want to go find the dome, you know, because I'm a conspiratard, and I just love like, I don't know about you, but I just love when like I can find stuff in the real world that's like conspiracy stuff. You know, if that makes any
It's so
sense.
cool.
It's so
Yeah.
like Nate, Deez and I, when I was in Portland, we went to Voodoo Donut. It
Mhm.
was really weird. I'm not gonna lie.
It is weird. I went to the one in Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
It is weird.
And it's not really very good, like food. So it's just kind of hype.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's,
The fruity donut.
yeah, there's like a dick shaped. Have you seen that one? It's got like
No, but I love a
balls.
dick.
Don't we all? Uh, all right, Red. Well, I think that was awesome. I think you told your tale. You're very powerful to do so. I'm really glad that you accepted my invitation. And do you have any like final thoughts or anything you want to
Oh
tell the
man.
D Live peeps?
I want to thank you for having me. Like this, it's just nice to talk to you in general. But
Yeah, I know.
I
I
mean,
miss you so much. Like we don't really get to hang out anymore. So I'll try to
you
amend that.
know, we're both working like crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I go to work so early, and you guys are still up at like 4 in the morning. So
Yeah, I know.
I like
You
went
just
to
come in,
work, and I
and
was just like,
wake
yeah, I
up,
can hang out with you guys at work. It was
literally.
awesome. I was like, this is so much better than staying up all night. Like, because I get the sleep, and then I get to hang out. So
Yep. Oh man. But no, I mean, I guess all I want to say is, I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone. It's really hard, but I have to do it because I'm breaking all these patterns, and that's the only way I can change. So that's where I'm at. I don't really know where this journey is going to take me, but I'm here for the ride.
well, you're fucking awesome. I can't wait. I can't wait till you call me and you're like, I'm pregnant and I'm gonna have a
Oh,
girl or
God.
whatever. And I'm so excited for that day. I know it's gonna happen very soon. And
No, don't say that,
well,
Amy.
that's what you wanted.
I don't want it that soon.
Well,
I can
I don't
wait.
want
I
to get
want to
all
find someone
stat on
young.
you, but you know, you're getting kind of old there. Your eggs are gonna be.
Uh, I'm on God's timeline, not anyone
No,
else's.
he's full of shit. My mom was my mom was 34 when she had me. She was 36 when she had my brother. My dad was 40
Yeah,
when I
my
was
mom had me when
born.
she was 36 too,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it is what it
And you
is.
know what? Like my friend and I have talked about it and he was like, you know, people that have kids later in life, it's better in a way because they've at least had life experience not having kids and being themselves and being on their own, and then they can impart that to their
Yeah.
kids. Whereas people that have kids when they don't even know who their kids themselves, they don't even know who they are, how do they have time to process the wounding that they've dealt in childhood? They don't. And that's why I think that a lot of
No,
cyclical shit happens is because people don't really wait to find a suitable partner. They kind of just settle down with the
and
first
that's
person
like
that pays attention to them. And I don't think that that's good either, you know?
nope,
So,
it's not. Definitely not.
yeah. But
Amy, I love you.
I love you too, Red. Listen here. All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys, have a great night. This was my fascinating interview with Little Red, and I love you all. Much love. Take care, guys. See you soon.
Mwah.
Mwah.
Bye.